Spend 5 minutes to run the numbers because you'll be pretty surprised. Hey guys, it's Sebastian from AskSebby, and today we're going to look at whether the Platinum card at a $695 annual fee is going to be worth it for you, given your circumstances. Big favor before we dive into all of this is to give this a thumbs up to help with the algorithm so other people can find it, and if you know someone who's debating the card, who's on the fence, then share this with them to help them make an educated decision. So the format of the video is going to be us looking at a common complaint, us looking at the intro bonus, and then finally the calculator. So the biggest complaint right now is that the Platinum card is now turning into a couponing card. So I think this meme does a pretty good job, but the Platinum card has always been a couponing card. So even before this update, the prior card had Uber, Saks, as well as a travel incidental credit. Even the Big Brother card, the Centurion card, is also kind of a couponing card. You get a $1,000 Saks credit that's broken up by quarter, and then you also get an Equinox membership that's about $3,600 in value. That's actually why some people who had the Centurion card ended up canceling it because they didn't like this aspect of it. If anything, I feel like the Platinum card is becoming more of a mini Centurion, so having all these different perks, and they're trying to get rid of people who otherwise wouldn't benefit from the card. Their super target user is the guy who lives in New York City, who's probably either a management consultant, investment banker, or maybe a software engineer, and they travel pretty often, maybe every week, and they also go to Equinox. So we need to figure out if we get value from the card if we are not that super target user. One thing that muddies all of this is the second part, the intro bonus. In year one of any card, technically, you're always going to get value due to the intro bonus. As long as you can hit the minimum spend, you should arguably get any card in every card out there. If you don't get value in year two, then you can cancel it, and you probably already have a very strong base of other cards from other issuers. If you're someone considering the Platinum card, I would strongly recommend checking Card Match to see if you have a targeted offer. So there have been some people who, even though they have an American Express relationship, have been getting 150,000 points for spending $6,000 in the first 6 months. So if you have American Express cards, I would go fishing for that offer and arguably wait for it. And if you don't, then I think that's your best starting point. So generally speaking, if you don't have an American Express relationship, they really try to target you with really good offers, and Card Match is one of those places. If you do want to check if you're targeted, we have a link on our website, AskSebby, and pretty easy way to support the channel. So number 3, let's finally dive into the calculator. And the purpose of this is to help you figure out your circumstances because everyone's going to be different. If you Google AskSebby Platinum worth it, it should be the first one. For the intro bonus part, I put the public offer of 100,000 points, but feel free to change this obviously, and I'd recommend waiting for the 150k. So if you put 150k, then it's going to update. For the purpose of this video though, let's say that we're not eligible for the bonus because I think a lot of people are considering year 2 and also debating on if they want to keep the card. So for the purpose of the calculator, we'll go through each of the items and then my thoughts on them, but you need to change the numbers because everyone's going to be different. The first part is going to be the points that you get from booking with the card. So this is going to be directly with airlines or on AmexTravel.com. I think for most people, you could reasonably put $1,000 to $2,000, but let's say $1,000. Prepaid hotels booked on AmexTravel.com. So this is part of the new credit as well. Let's say 500. I think you'll probably aim to do that to maximize the credit. All other purchases 1x back, I probably still put about $1,000. There have been occasions where I end up relying on their insurance and they probably have the best one in the game. Below that is going to be how you want to use the points, and I feel like if you're someone running the American Express setups, you're leaning towards travel because that's what they're really good at, or maybe the Schwab one. Right now it's 1.25, and then in September 1st of 2021, it's going to drop down to 1.1. Given that you're probably in the mid to late game for American Express, and I think if you're not traveling at least a little bit, the Platinum card's probably not on the table. Transfer partner makes the most sense to me, and feel free to change this. So with the credits, we'll look into how you can use them, but I think for some of them, it's easier than you think. So starting off with the $200 airline incidental credit, it is a bit annoying, but if you go somewhere like Flyer Talk or go to our past video or blog post on this, you can see that there's a lot of things that actually trigger the credit. So for some airlines, fares that are under $100 ends up working. For some other ones, if you use a gift card along with this card and it's less than a certain amount, then it also works. The reason I'm not saying the exact amounts is because it does change, so I would go to Flyer Talk for this. So given that you can generally get gift cards for the airlines for about 10% off, I think you could fairly value this at about $180 if you travel, and if you don't, probably don't get the Platinum because it's really hard to justify. And as we update these numbers, it changes the ones down here. So for the $100 Saks credit, I think it's really easy to focus on only the brand names and the fact that you might not get those brand name items, but they also have a lot of other makeup, perfume, skincare stuff that's fairly priced. So Kiehl's is a very good example of this. If you go to Saks for this item, it's $42. And if you buy it directly, it's also $42. Also, for anyone with eagle eyes, the reason that this is $42 is 6.8 ounces. And then this one is $35 is because it's smaller. So Saks 42 for 6.8. And then Sephora, once you go from 4.2 to 6.8, it's also the same price. So I'm generally not a cologne type of person, but Mandy ended up picking out this one. I think it's fine. There are going to be use cases. If you really can't use it, then discount this maybe down to even $0, but there's probably something that you can either buy for yourself or someone else you know. This credit can be pretty easy to use if you have a player or two that like shopping there. I'm going to discount this to about $90 as well because you could probably buy the gift card for Saks at a discount from someone else, and I think 10% discounts are pretty reasonable and pretty normal. So for the Uber credit, if you're someone who normally takes Uber, then same thing. If you're someone who doesn't, then I'd recommend looking into Uber Eats. They do have a lot of pickup options, and in those cases, a lot of the prices end up being exactly the same as if you ordered directly with them, and then you don't have to pay the Uber transaction fee and you don't have to pay delivery fees. Why would they be the same price? I think some places just keep it consistent, and then other ones just use it as user acquisition and they don't think too much about it. So for me, if I'm going for a walk anyways, then there's generally a few items I can pick up that are the same price as if I called in for them or if I walked up and ended up waiting 10 minutes. Let's say 180 as well. I think that's pretty reasonable. So we're only 3 credits in, but you can tell that they're focused on a very specific type of person and it might not be you. And in that case, I don't think the Platinum card is worth it for you. Next is the $100 global entry or TSA pre-check credit. For this one, I'd recommend looking into the other cards you have and whether you already have it, because if you do, then arguably this is $0. If you have other family members who want to use it, then that's great. Then maybe there is some value there, but I think for a lot of you, for people watching, it's probably 0. So these are the 4 credits that were previously on the card that people seem to value beforehand before this annual fee increase. Next is going to be the $200 hotel credit, and I think this is the one that's tough for a lot of people because it only works for fine hotel and resorts and also the hotel collection. There are some pretty cheap options if you decide to go abroad, if you go to somewhere like Bali, but that's not going to be everyone. I think for a lot of people considering the card, Vegas is going to be the go-to choice. For the Fine Hotel and Resorts collection, it's not going to be all the hotels in Vegas. It is going to be the ones that lean to, I'd say, mid-tier to high-tier up. But I feel like a lot of people who go to Vegas anyways on weekends knows that it can get pretty expensive. I would also say Vegas right now is just generally very expensive because as the US opens back up and as people want to go travel and gamble, then people want to go to Vegas. So even somewhere like Flamingo, which I would argue is not that great of a hotel, on the weekend is still almost $300. Looking at the map, it's about $100 to let's say $300 on the strip, and I would say that's pretty normal. My go-to cheap one is Bali's, and even then right now it's about $240, which tells you how much demand there is. If you're someone who can work remotely, I'd recommend going on weekdays because it does get a lot cheaper and you don't really have to deal with as many people. So putting it on a Wednesday, if you want to do a super long weekend, it's about $64, and everything seems a little bit more reasonable, but there's some that are always going to be expensive because that's just the nature of it. That's Vegas and they don't really want to lower prices. I think for a lot of people, this is probably going to be maybe $100. I think the $200 number is a bit tough because not everyone wants to do that. Not everyone goes to those type of properties, but you'd probably go if there was a slight discount given the credit. Digital entertainment one is pretty difficult as well. I think if you're someone who already has the New York Times, if you're someone who already uses SiriusXM, then you're good to go. I think for a lot of other people, if you care about the Olympics, then maybe Peacock for that and see how that goes. Maybe that's 2 months. Or Audible is a very good one that I really like. So you can take a look at my Audible and you can see that I do have 38 different titles. The reason it's not downloaded is because I mostly listen to it on my Android phone. I feel like if you're not using Audible though, then maybe that's a hard sell, but try it out for 1 or 2 months and see if you like it. I think it's one of the best ways to get information and to read a book without having to sit down and dedicate as much time. I'm going to be pretty pessimistic about this number because I think a lot of people aren't happy with it and they aren't using it as much. Let's say it's only worth 25 cents on the dollar, so $60. For the Equinox credit, it sounds like most people don't subscribe to Equinox or their plan doesn't count. And also a lot of people don't care about the app, so let's put that at 0. Next is going to be the $179 clear credit, and this one depends on if you're comfortable using this and also if you have any alternatives. So if you have basic Delta status, just a general SkyMiles member, it's 119. So arguably maybe this is only 119. I think for a lot of people, you'd probably throw $20 to skip a line if there was a super long one. So think $20 is a pretty reasonable price, but maybe it's $0. So since we're not focused on signing up for the card, we're focused on year 2, which is $630 in value from the credits. So you're getting $170 in value from the points, $630 from the credits, and then before considering any of the other stuff, you're coming out ahead due to the annual fee, so $105 in value. Let's be a little bit more pessimistic, and let's say we're redeeming it towards a statement credit for some reason, so only $51 in value from the points, and let's say clear is worth 0, and digital entertainment is also worth 0. So in this case, you're getting $51 in value from the points from your spending, and then $550 in value from the credits. So in total, you're paying $94 as a fee in order to get the card and get the other benefits that we're going to dive into. For the Centurion Lounge, I think it depends on the airport that you're based out of. I would value visits between $5. So $5 is if you just have a coffee and then maybe some snacks. Rationale is that if you went to another place for coffee, you're probably paying the same amount. And then upwards of $40, 40 being if you have a couple of alcoholic drinks. And if you go to other bars in the airport, you're probably paying $10 to $15 anyways for the same drinks. So how often do you visit and how many times do you fly? I think for a lot of people who get and consider the card, Centurion Lounge access and also Delta Sky Club and Escape Club access are the main reasons. So would you pessimistically pay a net $94 annual fee for lounge access? The other option is something like the Delta Reserve, which comes in at a $550 annual fee, and then you end up getting companion certificate that's once use for every anniversary of you having the card. So this might be preferable if you're someone who flies Delta a lot and you can easily use that certificate. Feel like that's worth about $200 to maybe $300. And if you're someone who readily pays for first, then maybe that is $700 and it's a keeper card. For a lot of people though, the main problem is that you only get Centurion Lounge access when you're flying Delta. So $550 with a certificate versus $94 just really depends on you. I would say the average person considering this card averages about 2 to maybe 4 visits. Let's say $20 per visit. It's about $80, maybe $60 if we take the middle number of 3 visits. For Priority Pass, similar to Global Entry, consider if you already have this from another card that you're looking to keep. If not, or if you're getting rid of those cards, then assign some value. Let's say $40 here. Fine Hotel and Resorts, I assign value to this because I like it, but maybe not to you. I think for a lot of people, let's just say 0 to keep it simple. For the Centurion Suites, they did get rid of it in Barclays Center, but Staples Center still has it. So if you go to any of their games, you can pretty much buy the cheap seats and then walk down into this little suite area. For a lot of people who don't live in LA, probably $0. So let's leave it at that. For hotel status, it also depends on the other cards you want to get. So if you are already getting these statuses, then it's probably 0. Let's say 50 for now, because I think people worrying about the card probably don't have a lot of other high annual fee cards. Cell phone protection, there's been a few other ones that have had it as well, so maybe that is 0. And Platinum Concierge, let's say 0 because you don't care about stuff like this. And this is excluding a lot of the other ones that I feel are a bit overpriced. So the private jet thing that I don't think is that useful. If you get value, great, then the card probably makes sense for you. You probably don't need to do this calculator, but for a lot of other people, it just doesn't really make sense. So ignore it for now. So being pretty pessimistic, it's about $56 in value. So it might not be worth your time to get it, but it just depends on you. And if you start to value the Centurion Lounge visits at substantially more, if you're someone flying every month, which a lot of people tend to be right now because everything's opening back up, then this number can increase dramatically. For a lot of people, the annual fee looks very aggressive, but once they run the numbers for their own circumstance, they realize that it does make a little bit of sense. Again, if you're interested in the card, check Card Match to see if you have the 150K offer. The link should be on our site, and thank you guys in advance. My question for you guys is, if you're someone who went through this exercise, what was the number that you got at the end? Was it minus 695? Was it plus 200? Let me know and everyone else know down below, because I think it would be pretty helpful. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, and please share this with anyone else who might benefit because it's going to help them out. But otherwise, hope you guys liked it. See you guys next time.